In January, this guy couldn't get a start for a team fighting relegation. By July, Real Madrid paid 25 million euros for him. No loan spell. No, let's see how he develops. Real Madrid. Straight up. And I watched every minute of football that got him there, because I wanted to know one thing. Is this kid actually good, or did Madrid just panic buy a striker because they sold someone else? I'm going to walk you through exactly what I found, and honestly, some of it surprised me. Let's start wide, because you need the bigger picture first. Real Madrid have a pattern. They sell a young striker from the academy, and within hours, they've already lined up the replacement. That's exactly what happened here. Gonzalo Garcia was on his way out to Fulham. The transfer reportedly brought Madrid something in the region of 40 million euros, even after Fulham only took a majority stake in his rights. That's smart business. But it also meant Mourinho had a hole up front, and he wanted it filled immediately. So who do they call? Not a superstar, not a name you'd recognize. They call Levante, a club that had just survived relegation by the skin of its teeth, and they ask about a 21-year-old forward named Carlos Espie. Here's the twist though. This wasn't some scouting mission that took months. Multiple reports say the whole operation, from first phone call to official announcement, was done inside a couple of hours. Madrid paid his release clause, reportedly 25 million euros, and just like that, Espí became the club's newest number 9, signed through 2031. For context, that fee reportedly makes him the second most expensive sale in Levante's entire history, only behind Jefferson Lerma's move to Bournemouth years ago. Not bad for a guy who was basically a bench option 6 months earlier. So let's go back. Who actually is Carlos Espie? He was born in July 2005 in Tavernes de la Valdiña, a small town in Valencia. Nothing glamorous about his path. He came up through a local club, moved to Alzira as a teenager, and Levante signed him from there in the summer of 2022. No release fee, no hype, just another kid in the academy pipeline. He's tall, around 1.94 m. And if you've watched footage of him as a young teenager, he was awkward with that height, big frame, not fully in control of his own limbs yet. That's a real thing that happens to late-growing kids, and it took him time to turn that size into an actual weapon instead of a liability. Now here's where it gets interesting, because this is not a story of a kid who arrived and immediately dominated. Espie spent real time in the academy and reserve setup before he ever got a sniff of the first team. And when he finally did break into Levante's senior squad, it still wasn't a straight line to stardom. Last season, the one that just finished, he was in and out of the squad for long stretches. Plenty of substitute appearances, not many starts early on, and I know what a lot of you are thinking right now. Okay, so he's just a hot streak, a guy who got lucky for 2 months and Madrid overreacted. I thought that too, at first. Then I looked closer at the numbers. Espie finished last season as Levante's top scorer, with 11 goals in the league and 13 in all competitions. That's while playing under a manager who didn't trust him with regular minutes until deep into the year. Once he did get consistent chances in the second half of the campaign, the goals came in a serious cluster, a run of form that directly helped drag Levante away from the relegation zone. He was voted the best under-23 player in La Liga for that season. That's not a made-up popularity contest. That's a real, measurable stamp on what he did with limited opportunity. Think about that for a second. A player who spent big chunks of the season on the bench still finished as his club's top scorer and the best young player in the entire league. Imagine what happens when someone actually builds a team around him. Now, why Espí specifically? Why not some proven La Liga forward with 3 more years of experience? Because Mourinho apparently asked for him by name. Multiple reports out of Spain say this wasn't a scouting department decision that got rubber-stamped by the manager. This was Mourinho pushing for this exact profile. And the profile makes sense once you understand what Gonzalo Garcia actually is. Gonzalo is mobile, he drops deep, he links play, he's not a target man. Mourinho, by contrast, has always wanted a real number 9 in behind, someone who can hold the ball up, win aerial duels, and be the guy defenders have to physically deal with in the box. Reports have directly compared Espí's role to Joselu's old job at the club, the aerial outlet, the guy you throw on when you need a different kind of threat. And Espí fits that description almost too perfectly. 1.94 m, strong in the air, a striker who, according to people around the deal, impressed enough in his final stretch of games that Madrid moved before any Premier League club could finish their paperwork. Brighton were reportedly in the mix. So were a few other English clubs. Madrid just got there first, and got there fast. Here's the part that actually changes how I see this transfer though, because I went in expecting to find a panic buy, and I came out finding something closer to a calculated bet. Madrid didn't need Espí to be the finished article. They needed a specific tool: height, physicality, aerial threat, and they found the cheapest, youngest version of that tool available in Spanish football at a release clause that's genuinely small money by Real Madrid standards. Compare that to how a lot of big clubs handle this exact situation. When teams panic after selling a forward, they usually chase the safe, expensive, proven option, somebody already playing Champions League football, somebody who costs 80 or 90 million and comes with zero risk attached, but also zero long-term value. Madrid went the other way. They bet on upside. They bet on a 21-year-old whose entire senior sample size is still small, but whose per 90-minute output, especially late last season, was genuinely elite for his age group. That's either brilliant business or a serious gamble, and honestly, we won't know which one for a year or two. Now, let's talk about what actually worries me here, because I don't think this is a guaranteed happy ending. Espí is walking into one of the most demanding dressing rooms in world football, at a club where patience for young strikers is basically non-existent. He's also picked up a couple of injuries recently, including a hamstring issue that kept him out for over a month last season. Real Madrid's front line already has serious, established competition. Getting minutes ahead of the club's other attacking options is going to be brutal, and if he doesn't score early, the noise around him could get loud fast. But here's the honest part. When I started digging into this story, I expected to come away thinking Madrid had overpaid for a guy who got hot for 8 weeks. Instead, I came away impressed by how deliberate this signing actually was. This wasn't Florentino chasing headlines. This was a manager identifying an exact gap in his squad and going out and getting the cheapest, most specific answer to that gap in a matter of hours. And maybe that's the real story here, more than any single player. Football loves the idea of the overnight superstar, the kid who comes from nowhere and instantly changes everything. But most of the time, that's not actually what happens. What happens is years of unglamorous work, awkward teenage growth spurts, bench warming, reserve team football, patience nobody sees, and then one specific moment where a bigger club needs exactly what you happen to be. Carlos Espie didn't get lucky in July. He got noticed at the exact moment somebody needed the thing he'd spent years quietly building. That's not luck. That's just how most real stories in this sport actually go. If this video helped you see Carlos Espie in a new light, drop a like. It costs nothing and it really does help push this out to more football fans. And if you're new here, subscribe, because this is exactly the kind of breakdown I do every single week. Appreciate you watching. Catch you next time.